introductions, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Hayes.
Sure. Happy to have everybody here this evening. My name is Lindsay Hayes. I am a learning professional. I studied learning design and technology at Penn State, earned my PhD there. Before that, I got a master's degree from Johns Hopkins. I taught middle school math in Baltimore. If any of you are middle school math teachers, my heart goes out to you. And just spent a lot of time in higher education, was at Penn State before I was at NYU. And currently in my role, I work in the Tandon School of Engineering, where we have partnered with Pathstream to create some really unique courses that we're going to dive into today. But the main part of my job is to make sure that we're matching students with appropriate coursework, engineering coursework, just any type of learning in the professional education realm. That's the non-credit spectrum. I spent a lot of time working in higher ed in 4 credit classes, and just the pattern of how the world is evolving and education is evolving. There's a big need to be able to upskill. There's a big need to make sure that learners are career ready, professionals are career ready, and that doesn't always necessarily come in a nicely packaged credit class. How I like to say it is, people are really ready to buy singles instead of buying an album, and getting a 4-credit, 4-year degree is like buying an album, when sometimes you just really need a specific skill, or really just to upskill to get that promotion, to change careers, and just really want to dive into some type of specific learning. So that's the type of coursework that my department within Tandon School of Engineering, we focus on, really helping students find that niche piece of information or piece of coursework, piece of learning that they want to learn, and helping them cater to whatever their needs are there. So really happy to be here, really happy to have you guys here. I also teach the data analytics class, so I'm happy to dive in more about Tableau, but I will turn it back over to you, Brooke.
Thank you so much. So, gosh, I really love everything you had to say, especially that analogy of like singles versus an album. And you really hit a lot on what the tensions are now with higher education as it was, as it evolves, but also this real need for folks to upskill and do it in an efficient way. So just to touch on a couple of the same themes, I have also been in higher education. I started out as a professor, got interested in online education, built massive online courses for MIT for a minute, got recruited to Microsoft to look at STEM skills and employability. So thinking about, what tech companies like Microsoft are looking for in terms of employees, and what are those digital skills that are going to afford folks opportunities in these emergent, evolving careers and job spaces. So I'm super excited to get to be with you all today, and for us to get to present to you on this opportunity. I also just want to highlight again that we have Zora, who is from the Pathstream team, with us. She is in the chat, but also is one of our colleagues here, our co-hosts, to help bring this content to you. So diving into our partnership, I'll hand that back over to you, Lindsay.
Yeah, so NYU and Pathstream have a really unique relationship, which I'm learning more and more over time. And Pathstream has really allowed us to have ownership, but also partner with them in creating these really dynamic courses. One of the things that I look for as a learning designer is project-based, hands-on learning opportunities for students to really demonstrate their knowledge in a meaningful way, and to create artifacts that demonstrate their learning. And it's not just about transferring knowledge, like reading a book and spitting that back out to you in a multiple choice, but really, can I work on a project? Can I demonstrate my learning? And can I show that I know what I know? And along the way, are there checks for understanding? Are you helping me along the way learn, so that at the end of whatever I'm doing, I'm able to do it on my own, but you're not pushing me out of the nest. You're kind of taking me along the way and giving me the tools I need to succeed. And when we found Pathstream and Pathstream found us, we saw that the learning management system that they use there, just the Pathstream app in general, and every way that they've set up their learning design and learning management is really, really great for learners. And that's not just, something that you can say blanketed across all platforms. Pathstream does a really good job. Like I said, starting from zero, if you know nothing about the background, they will hold your hand through it. There are a lot of examples where they show you this is exactly how to do it. Then there are some examples where they'll scaffold it, meaning they'll help you, or there will be a place for you to look at a hint to say, you know, if you need help with this part of it, you can look at this hint. If you know how to do it, you can go ahead and do it on your own. And then you have projects at the end where you're really kind of going off on your own, demonstrating your own knowledge in a really open-ended way, which is really important. So we partnered with Pathstream because it's really effective learning. It's a project-based learning, and it's something that is just a really quality product. And we see a need within the career and the industry to create really dynamic tools and really dynamic programs for learners to be able to upskill and to be able to learn these new skills. And again, if you're starting from zero, it's absolutely okay. But the nice thing about non-credit classes is that if you already have a background, if you already use some of these skills on a daily basis and you can demonstrate your knowledge at a quicker pace, we can move you through at a quicker pace. So it's really competency based and not time based, which is really important to us and really important to learners who are professionals. You guys have, some of you are already working, some of you have, you know, parents or children or whoever that you need to take care of, and you're working on a different timeline. We're not saying, you know, you have to spend this much time before you can move on. If you have the knowledge and you want to move faster, you can. If you're starting from zero and need to move a little bit slower and really dive into the information, you can do that too. So Pathstream has just allowed us to be able to use NYU instructors to cater to students, but also use some of just the way that they've set up their curriculum and their projects to really partner with us to create dynamic tools and dynamic platforms. I'll stop there. I'll have a lot more to say when we talk about Tableau, but I'll stop right there.
That's really helpful context. You hit on all the major points of what we're going to discuss today. I appreciate that. And we're going to dive deeper on those details. But basically, you have everything you need to know now about the experience and the certificates. Just to level set a little bit, you are here in this webinar, so you realize that the demand for digital skills is growing across industries, that digitally intensive middle skills jobs are increasingly requiring these software skills, we know. But the good news about these jobs is that the opportunity for advancement is greater and the pay is greater, which is most likely, you know this, and this is why you're here today, to investigate these opportunities, right? So we will be talking about these 4 pathways, which we have identified as huge growth sectors: Facebook digital marketing, Salesforce administrator, Asana project management, and of course, the Tableau Data Analytics Certificate. In terms of our platform, we do employ tool. You've noticed that in each of those titles, we mentioned skills, but tools, right? So I'll take the Tableau Data Analytics. You're going to learn Tableau as a tool to apply the content of data analytics, learning to be a data analyst. And maybe I'll just make some space. Lindsay, if you want to talk a little bit about your experience with the platform and the points here about the experience.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about this program is that it's not just an overview or like theoretical. You know, we'll start with some theoretical foundations about what data analytics is, or what project management is, what customer relationships are. You'll get that baseline, but then we're going to dive straight into the tools so that you're getting actual hands-on experience with how to work with a data set or how to work in a customer management system, so that you're not just kind of getting an overview. And in order to do that, we have to pick a tool for you to practice on, right? So these tools have been thought about, right? They weren't picked at random. They're used throughout the industry and in several different industries. But what's also nice is you put it on your resume that you know how to use this tool. Even if the company that you're going to work for doesn't use that tool, they know that whatever tool they're using is comparable, because these are big names in the industry. So it's not like they haven't ever heard of these before. The hands-on labs are by far the best part, I think, for the learning experience, because like I said, you'll have a lab where it's very similar to a project that you might be doing later on. It's with a completely different data set, but the lab is taking you step by step from the beginning of a problem to the very end about how you would solve it, what tools you would use within the system. There will be challenge problems in there just to make sure you're critically thinking about what you're doing. And then you'll be able to check your answer after you've gone through step by step in the labs, which is really helpful. And then the best part, I think I probably just said that about the labs being the best part, but the second best part is the personalized feedback that you get from the instructors. So all of the instructors are NYU vetted. They have a relationship with us, and we, make sure that they are providing really dynamic feedback to you, detailed feedback, meaning whatever project you're turning in, we're going to be writing comments back to you. Like, you did a great job here. This is a really good job here, but make sure that you're also thinking about this. You did good here. These are steps that you could have done to go a little bit further, or you're missing the mark. This is probably where you messed up. I'm going to give you this grade. If you want to resubmit it again and you want to do it over for a higher grade, we'll allow you to do that too. But there's a real human, one of us from NYU, that is giving you feedback to make sure that you understand what you're learning and to make sure you understand where you might have fallen short if you're not quite getting it. We also have weekly office hours. And we also have live sessions, optional live sessions that you can attend. We record those live sessions. If you can't be there in person, we'll make sure that you get the recording of it so that you can see what we were doing within the class. And we're helping walk you through all of these courses as you're going through them at your own pace.
I just want to echo that everything you're sharing is what we hear from students, that having the instructor support and having these sessions, it's sort of the best of all worlds. You're able to complete material on your own, at your own pace, but you're not unsupported. And that's super important to the richness of the experience.
Absolutely.
So in terms of diving in a little bit more to the details of the certificate, you will have 3 courses in a growing career area, which we have identified, and then that certificate branded from NYU Tandon School of Engineering, an important proof point to employers that you are officially endorsed, that your skills have been endorsed by an important brand. Career services are also part of this. So to get details of that a little more specifically, throughout the first couple of courses, every week, you're going to get a newsletter from our career services team talking about jobs and opportunities, kind of priming you to think about next steps. Of course, I can speak to, on the learning design team, we work hard to make sure that that curriculum is career aligned. You are learning what you need to authentically be a data analyst or a Salesforce admin, project manager, a digital marketer, etc. When you get into that third course, that's really when the career services are going to work with you in particular on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, career coaching, networking support. There are all these services. We have a dynamite team that is ready and waiting to help you as you get into that third course and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to finish. What is my next step? A high-level overview here of the programs. I just want to emphasize again, just as Lindsay pointed out, you're learning tools that are important that are widely recognized globally, right? Facebook, Salesforce, Asana, Tableau, and you're learning not just the theoretical knowledge, but you're applying, and I'll highlight the data analytics certificate. You may not know much about data, but by the end of this certificate, you will be able to synthesize data, you'll be able to parse data, analyze data, using spreadsheets, using SQL, which is a database tool, using Tableau. And if you have not heard of any of those tools yet, that's okay. We don't assume any prior knowledge. And I would say that's the same for Asana, project management, Salesforce admin, Facebook digital marketing, all of these things. You're going to learn the knowledge, you're going to apply that knowledge in tools. So you'll be ready to go once you finish your certificate. We mentioned 3 courses, 18 to 27 weeks total, that 27 weeks being the data course, or rather the data certificate, data analytics certificate. We do provide you a schedule to stay on track, though it is flexibly paced. And maybe I'll just step back and pause. Lindsay, I know you've mentioned this before, the instructor support piece. I'm not sure if you want to add.
I can jump in here. Yeah, so flexibly paced, meaning that, we give you a set amount of time. You have 8 weeks to finish course 1. You can do that in whatever time frame works for you. If you're a person that needs to sign on every Sunday, and Sunday you're just going to work for 5 hours straight, and that's what works best for you, that's awesome. If you know you're going to be on a 3-day-a-week schedule and maybe working an hour or 2 every night, that works. If you are a procrastinator and you said, you know what, week 4, I'm going to get everything done. And then week 6, I'm going to get everything done. Whatever works for you. It's also based on, how much of a background you already have in this information. And again, it's not for credit, and it's not structured how typical traditional schools are structured. So whatever pace works best for you, we totally respect that pace. We have suggested dates for when you should be turning in project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4. If you miss that date, we're not going to take off points. We're not going to penalize you. But by the end of course 1, we expect everything to be done before you go into course 2. So those courses, we really want everything done within that time frame. But within the course, however you need to get the work done, you can get the work done. Same thing with our live sessions. We tell you, it'll be on Eastern Standard Time in the evenings usually. If you can't make that date, we'll record it. You can have access to it later, and you can be in the class, a part of the class, but still asynchronously, which we find is really important because we know you have a lot going on in your daily lives, and we don't want to be a hindrance to that. We want to be able to work around you and your time.
So just a few testimonials in terms of having the opportunity to bring all the details to you. We're excited to do that, but it's also important to hear from students directly, folks that are in your position who have actually gone through the program and what their perspectives are. And, Lindsay, my favorite part about this slide and the things that students share is it's exactly what we hope for, which is to say, we want to structure an experience that is impactful but efficient for them. And so, saying that the labs instructions are easy to understand, how to implement it step by step. I feel like your experience and, your interactions with students and being an instructor would support what we have here on the testimonial side as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can't hone in on enough. Like, this is really your program. You are going to make it what it needs to be. And it's really student driven. We're going to provide you with all the tools, all the resources. Some students are really individually focused and they aren't going to talk to anyone throughout the whole course. Like, I don't need additional supports. The materials are laid out so well that I can just kind of go through at the pace I need to go through. I'm getting feedback from my instructor on my project, so I know I'm doing well, but I, don't need to necessarily engage at a really high level. And then I have some students who I'm meeting with every other week during my office hours because they just want to be able to talk about it to make sure that they understand what's happening. And talking and dialogue is a part of learning. So we welcome that as well. So it really just depends on what level of support you need. Some of you are going to be rock stars and just go straight through. Some of you are also going to be rock stars, but also want that additional support and talking with either classmates or talking with professors. And we support that too. So this is really your program, and you have decided to explore this because there's a goal that you have and you set that goal, and we're just here to help you get there.
Yeah, I think about myself as a learner, and I feel like I would be coming to your office hours every week.
and that would be fine. And that would be fine.
Yeah. So to jump into particulars here, let's start out with the Tableau Data Analytics Certificate. We have laid out for you just to give you some concrete idea of the opportunity. So many job postings and growth in jobs requiring Tableau skills. I would urge you, if you're interested, go to your favorite platform, Indeed.com or LinkedIn, and just do a keyword search on data and see how many jobs bubble up. There are so many opportunities out there, and only more and more jobs are looking for data skills and data-driven decision making and things. So it's, as we like to say, a no regrets skill set. It's something that you can really apply to become an analyst, or apply that in your current role, or maybe get a promotion in your current role. And this is something that will prepare you for the Tableau Desktop Specialist exam, which is something you could do in addition to having this really important branded certificate from NYU. To give you an idea of the 3 courses.
Yeah, I can
dive in.
Yes. Sure. So 3 courses. Tableau is this data analytics program is the longest, just because there's a lot of meat in there. And what we found after doing this cohort several times is that students were asking for extensions. So we just built it in so that you don't need to ask for that. For course 1 is a business analytics fundamentals. That's where we're really working with Google Sheets. And we're just kind of laying the foundation of what data is, how do you manipulate it, how do you clean it, how do you wrangle it, and what it means to just work with a very large, unstructured set of data. What I think this program does really well is it's not like a cut and dry, the answer is A, B, or C. We're giving you real live data, and some of it might not look pretty, some of it might have been entered wrong. You actually really, like in the real world, like if you have an open-ended question, someone's going to type in something that doesn't make sense, and you need to know what to do with that type of data, right? So what first course does is just give you an overview of, here's your data set. Let's figure out how to interpret it. Let's figure out how to analyze it. Let's figure out how to clean it. Let's figure out how to talk to the right stakeholders about whatever information this data is telling us, and how can we pull insights based on statistics, based on data, to be able to communicate what we need to communicate to the right stakeholders on the right level. After we finish course 1, we go into course 2, which is SQL. SQL is essentially a language trying to talk to a computer. So humans telling computers, this is what the information that I need you to spit back out to me. It's like learning a new language. If you've never worked in SQL, this does a really good job at starting from zero and taking you all the way up to being able to communicate with a computer, to edit databases, add columns. You're pretty much telling the computer, this is exactly the type of information I want to pull out, or this is the type of information I want to edit. And you're communicating with the computer in a brand new language, and which is really important, because in data analytics right now, we're working in databases, and you have to be able to communicate with the database in order to tell the humans what is happening within the database. So you are a translator between what's going on with data and what's going on in the real world. And then the last part is my favorite, the data visualization in Tableau, where we've taken all these skills. We know how to communicate with the database and computers. We know how to analyze the information from the data set. And now we're making really beautiful data visualizations that help communicate these insights really quickly. Humans take in images and visuals a lot faster than they do words. So we're learning how to create data visualizations through Tableau. We even look at some of them through Google Sheets as well, and just really figuring out how can we communicate this in the most efficient way to the most amount of people and not make the data be more confusing than it already is. So we take you through, here are best practices for data visualizations across the board. This is how you can create these in Tableau. And then if you want to manipulate even further on into stories and animations and things in Tableau, it can do some really, really cool things, which is course 3. So all of these build onto each other, but they're building blocks, and as long as you're following the pace and you're going step by step, you really, really can't get lost.
I appreciate that summary. It's so helpful to have it broken down in accessible language, right? Because we don't really, maybe you've never heard of data manipulation language. We've got SQL, we've got DML, we've got, Excel, we've got all these things. So having you break it down into a way where you may not know data or analytics at all, I think that's really helpful. Jumping into Salesforce, I'm going to skip ahead for just a moment. We'll be back to this, but I wanted to talk about Salesforce for a moment. That I will say I wasn't aware of Salesforce until recently, but it is a hugely important platform. It's a CRM, customer relationship management platform. So any business that keeps data on customers and it has to manage relationships with customers, sort of acquiring customers, keeping customers, anything to do with customers, a business has to keep data and that's how they drive the business. So you can imagine that it's an important tool. And in fact, just to give you a sense of scale and opportunity, Salesforce considers its biggest competitor Microsoft. So imagine how prevalent, how pervasive, where Microsoft is. Those are the same spaces that Salesforce is in. And so you can imagine for job-wise that this is a really kind of huge platform, huge opportunity for folks that have those skills. So, across all industries and functions, we see Salesforce popping up because, again, any business that has to work with customers, has to maintain that data, has to maintain relationships with customers. To go back to this, to the career outlook, the industry data, we really surfaced a lot of opportunity around the number of job postings and the growth in jobs, and utilizing Salesforce, huge opportunity. And we see that even non-CRM roles are increasingly needing people with these skills. So you may not go on to be a Salesforce admin or a sales representative specifically, but these are skills you can apply to your current job or maybe get promoted. Certainly we've seen alums of the program who pursue very successfully promotions. And also you can take the Certified Salesforce Administrator Credential exam. So that's another opportunity open to you after the certificate, adding to your portfolio. After you've got sort of the branded certificate, you can add perhaps the exam. In terms of the layout of the courses, much as Lindsay mentioned with data analytics, we're just going to go through successive layers of taking you from a baseline to building you up. That first course is just fundamentals that will introduce you to Salesforce without any knowledge, without presuming any knowledge of Salesforce or customer relationship management software, and you will dive in right away. You're actually going to do things that would be authentic to that job and come out the other end having built reports, charts, dashboards, things that are, again, authentic to that job. That second course is really going to prepare you for the specifics of a Salesforce admin. Once you have the basics of just understanding Salesforce, now we're going to layer that on. And that third course is really going to solidify your knowledge as an admin with advanced topics, where you're going to have the ability to really take and demonstrate your knowledge. And the project-based nature of this means that you're going to work on authentic tasks in the labs, you're going to apply them in a project, and those projects are things that you can take with you and demonstrate that you've done authentic work things, and you can refer back to them in your job, that these are things that are meant to be practical and applicable in a real work setting. The Asana Project Management Certificate, again, when I think about this skill set, I can't think of anyone that wouldn't benefit from project management skills. And yes, after completing this certificate, you could look for roles as project manager, project coordinator, and we see folks that do that, but you can also just apply this to your current job. You could maybe look to a promotion in your current role. You can be prepared for the CAPM exam, Certified Associate in Project Management, offered by the PMI Project Management Institute, which is globally recognized in the project management space. We start here, again, same idea, layering on your skills. We don't presume any knowledge when we start that first foundations course, but by the end, you will have prepared a project charter. You will create a stakeholder register. You will create a scope statement. So we're going to take you from maybe not having any knowledge of project management and producing deliverables that you would do authentically in the job of a project manager. That second course is going to layer on some tools using Asana and Google Sheets to really help you apply your knowledge in the context of tools. You're going to produce, again, artifacts of your work communication plan, kickoff activities. And then we've reserved that third course for risk management, which is a topic that's so important to project management that we have an entire course that covers that for you. And so you will come out of that experience with authentic things, projects, artifacts that you can apply to a real job in project management, or really any role that requires project management. Finally, the Facebook Digital Marketing Certificate. What I'll highlight here on this slide, there's a fact that I think demonstrates everything you need to know. Over half of all marketing expenditure in the US goes to digital marketing today. So that's on the lower right corner of the slide. And so there's huge opportunity here in terms of marketing roles out there. And again, after the certificate, you may pursue a role as a digital marketing coordinator or a marketing specialist, but this is a skill set that is widely applicable in many different contexts.
And even just knowing the verbiage and some of the keywords that people use in digital marketing, even if you're not working directly, having the background knowledge of what people are talking about is super important, I would say.
Absolutely. I know in my work, I've mentioned that I'm a learning designer, but having some of this knowledge is absolutely helpful in communicating with folks external to my company or folks internal to the company who are working on marketing initiatives. It can be really helpful. In terms of the courses, you're going to start with the foundations and strategy of marketing, and you will design a campaign. And by the end of this course, you will have built value props and brand positioning maps and identified market segmentation, key performance indicators, etc. You're going to use all of this in service of a marketing campaign. And then that second course is really going to help you use tools to assess how good that campaign was, the effectiveness of that campaign. So you can see in the project-based way, we are taking you through, helping you build knowledge, helping you use tools that are going to be authentic to the job, and helping you do things, tasks, and produce projects and artifacts of your work that'll be important in the context of digital marketing. That third course is all about social media marketing, and I would guess that we can all agree that social media marketing is important enough to warrant an entire course, given we understand the prevalence of social media in our world today, and that's only increasing, frankly. So we are going to get into a platform demo. I do want to highlight, while we're going to walk through the platform, take a moment. If you have questions, go ahead and enter those into the Q&A, and we will definitely try to address all your questions before the end of the webinar today. Let me go ahead and open up the platform today. I've picked that first data course called Business Analytics Fundamentals. And this is your, as a student, think about this as signing in for the first time to your first course in the data certificate, in the Tableau Data Analytics Certificate. And so we're going to start you off right away with just a welcome to Pathstream. How do you even use our platform? This is how all the courses are structured, by the way. We give you time estimates so you can be budgeting for your time. There's a course overview. So we are going to give you a roadmap, give you a sense of what you're going to be doing and why. We get into the final project just as a preview. And this is always something you can come back and revisit. But keep in mind that we are you are going to be working your way throughout this course to a final project, which you will turn in and you get to retain as part of your portfolio as well. We dip into that second module, which is all about an introduction to business and data analytics. And so we, again, don't presume any knowledge of data. We give you an introduction to data, thinking about careers in business and data analytics, and then an introduction to analytics. This course revolves around an exploratory data analysis. And so that involves thinking through framing a business model or framing a business problem, understanding the business, understanding stakeholders. I'm going to go ahead and proceed through. You're going to get into more of the tools here: introduction to spreadsheet software, calculations in spreadsheets, data wrangling, and Lindsay, what I think I'm going to do is to jump into data wrangling, but I want to pause before I dip into a lesson, just in case you wanted to mention anything like as we're zoomed out here on the platform.
Yeah, I think it's just a really good overview so that you can plan out your time. You can see those little lab icons to say that there's going to be something extra that you can do within each of these tabs, which is really helpful. And then just them keeping pace for you, being a bookmarker, right? So it's not a textbook that you can pull down the page, but it'll remind you this is where you stopped the last time you were here. As you get to the end of the section, you've completed it, and you can see your progress, which is really helpful just as a pat on the back for yourself as you're working through, but for you to come back the next week or the next day and to remember where you left off at. One of the underrated things that I really love about the end of each section is that there are these little recaps or reference pages that'll pretty much review everything that we just went over in that section. Yeah, the key takeaways, which have it's almost like a cheat sheet. I would tell students, take a screenshot of this, save this in a folder for later. the key term modules and the references are really, really great pieces of data and references for you to come back to just remember, what did I learn in this module? If I want to come back to it later, where was that? And these are really nice to just help you summarize the learning at the end there.
Absolutely. To speak to, Lindsay, what you mentioned before about the goodness of the lab portion of this, the hands-on, I did pull up a lab here, and let me go to the very beginning of this lab just to mention, you know, this is going to be your experience as a student. At the end of a lesson, often you will find there is a lab which you can click into, and it's going to pop up, and it's going to present you on the left-hand side with instructions, explicit step-by-step instructions, and you're going to complete those tasks on the right-hand side in a spreadsheet. So you don't even have to leave the platform. There's sort of, you don't have to toggle between windows or anything. You can do it right within one single window, and that's by design. I want to make space for you to comment on the labs here.
Yeah, and the labs are, I mean, this is real live data. You can manipulate everything that's over on the right-hand side of the screen. It's not just like a video that you're watching. We're expecting you to manipulate it, to work with it, and to work with this data. So you'll see instructions over on the left-hand side. And if you think that you know exactly what you're doing, you can just kind of work through these. If you want to take a minute to stop just to make sure that I did it right, they have these drop downs that say, show me how, or I need a hint. And then it'll show you, just to make sure, and the GIFs are my favorite, it'll show you the keystrokes, exactly what you need to do to click, exactly where you need to go, what your screen should look like, which is really helpful, and it's literally step by step, so that you're not missing anything. But again, if you kind of know what you need to do, you can go through these at your own pace and get to the bottom and say, you know, I think I did everything without looking at the hints. Let me just double check the final answer. And you can look at your sheet, look at the final answer within the lab, and just double check your learning. And that's what labs are designed to do, where you are self-checking based on prompts and based on the best practices about what we have. And this is to set you up and get you ready for your project. And in the project, you're not going to have as many hints. You're not going to have as many show me hows. And we're still expecting you to be able to turn in a project that you're submitting to the instructor that we're going to give you feedback on. So the labs are a great way to practice. And there's not much that you're going to be doing in a project that you haven't already done in the lab if you're doing all of the labs as they're designed. But the labs are a place for you to make mistakes. It's a place for you to check your learning. A lot of times when students have questions, that we'll pull up a lab together and work through that so that they're prepared and ready to move on to the project.
And as you're mentioning the project, Lindsay, I'm just bringing up within the course what it looks like to jump into the project. So this is project part 2. You're going to get an overview, and it's going to spell out exactly what you need to do before you even jump into the project. This is what the project looks like. So to your point that it is designed to be similar to the lab experience with just maybe a little bit less scaffolding. But
exactly. Yeah.
On all of these things, and be prepared to actually do this. So.
Right. Yeah. If you're following through the curriculum and the coursework, these things that they're asking you to do will not be foreign, especially if you've gone through all of the modules, you know, all of these keywords, it'll trigger your memory back to something you've seen before. It's absolutely okay to close the project, go back to an old lab that you've done, go back into your textbook and look for, you know, I know how to do this, I just can't remember. And that's absolutely fine. In some ways, they'll tell you, like, if you need help, you can go back to this section to review what you need to do. But you can see that these are open-ended prompts, right? It's not a multiple choice question over on the right-hand side. We're expecting you to type in the answers, to use all of the tabs on those bottom sheets, to really think really critically about what type of data do you have? What is this telling you? What is this information? What are you gathering from this? And then garner your own insights and generate your own insights and tell us what it is that you are pulling from the data.